What's up, everybody? I'll give it a moment. I don't know if my video is sideways. Let me see. I am sideways. Hang on. I don't want to be straightforward, but I guess I will be. What is, oh, I'm like, I guess so. If I have to, right? What's up, everybody? Hello. See if anybody comes. Hopefully that fixed it. Give it a moment. Saw somebody pop in and then pop out. But I never trust what YouTube tells me. Always lies to me. Good morning-ish, noon, afternoon, whatever time it is for all of you. I was going to do the bowls like Roca, but I'm not sure. It's distracting. Humbilium. No, I'm kidding. What is up, everybody? Welcome. Thanks for being patient with me. Welcome back to one of my lives. I have a hair, lots of hair. Oh my gosh. Hope everybody's doing great. I need to talk about something important right now, and that's the internal compass, right? What is up, Gigi? And why it's important to kind of, have you ever noticed we go through moments of like isolation, especially through an awakening? When you go through an awakening, it can be quite rough. And then you find yourself alone, feeling alone, like you can't relate to anybody. Why is that? And why is it important to go internal, right? That internal compass. What is the significance to isolation and to the internal compass, especially since everybody's been called home? The end days are here. Everybody can feel it. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's kind of, if they can't, they can't. There's a certain group of people that can't feel it. But for the majority part, a lot of people are getting downloads. What is up, Roger and Gigi? Whoop, whoop. Hello, hello. I'm noticing there's a lot of people like getting these weird dreams of like the end times and these prophetic dreams they're calling them, or downloads, whatever they want to call them, right? Lots of cool stuff going on. And people might go, that's scary. But it's only scary to me if you don't have God in your heart, right? And that's the purpose of the internal compass right there, my friends, because I remember when I did the workshop, I think it was Fiji part 2, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, those that went, I think Gigi was at that one, where I started calling everybody home. And that was when they gave me the timeline of 2 years being all that we had left, right? But regardless of all of that, whenever you have an awakening, do you even know how to have an awakening? What sparks those things anyways? Usually it's because we're called inward. Okay. So it used to be like through trauma and stuff, right? So we begin to be called inward. What is up, Lisa? Hello, everybody. So nice to see people here today with me. I've missed it. Felt quite lonely, right? But we can go there. We can feel lonely sometimes, especially on these journeys. Man almighty. Especially since my DM didn't come, I feel completely lonely sometimes. I'm like, I want out. Just kidding. I don't really want out, but we do sometimes. So when I had my Kundalini awakening, I sparked it on my own because all of a sudden I started going inward, right? Trauma sparked mine. And that's used to be what was more common, is that trauma would spark it. It would cause you to really start to go inward and think about the reality in which you found yourself in. Well, now it's happening to everybody, whether you want it to or not. We're all going to wake up to something. And that's what's happening in a crazy, crazy way all over the world. And the best thing that we can do is co-create. And how do you co-create? What does that mean? Right? I caught this person who reads Bibles, and they said that, they're very much so into the biblical aspect and component, which I would be weary of because not all of it is real, but still some of it is. And they had mentioned every day, asking for that guidance. That's co-creation. You ask for guidance, but you have to follow it. Sometimes our ego tries to get in the way, Whenever we ask for guidance, your ego will go, nah, I know a better way. We don't have to do that. And so sometimes we tend to not listen to that guidance, but it's like super, super important to listen to that guidance. Gigi's made it all the way through my stuff and gone through the gates, or she went through the gates. Yeah. And she's now going to be a graduate of my academy soon. And she can vouch for that. There's times where the shadow or the ego or something always tries to push us outward. And that was the reality in which we found ourselves in, was an external environment for a reason. So they kept you convinced that you only had like 10% of your brain capacity, right? Like, that's silliness. That's the next workshop I'm doing, you guys. I posted that one on Facebook earlier, because now it's time to start activating those dormant parts of our brain, because we just haven't used them in a long time. But we actually have full capacity of our brain space, our mind, space-time continuum, right? And so that's the cool part about it. Like, they spent a long time convincing us that we couldn't do this, we can't do this, and Gigi says that is true. It is very true. So, and I remember them telling me, like, when I got attacked and things like that, or certain things would happen, they're like, fix your compass. It got turned external. And that was true. Before my awakening, I would never connect to the earth. I always had like an aversion to it. Not that I didn't like the earth. I loved being outdoors and stuff, but I would, Lisa says she can vouch for that too. I would avoid connecting too deeply, and now I know why. Because I wasn't meant to wake up until a certain period of time. Although who I was always there. And so the earth is also, oddly enough, it's on the external, but we connect to it in the internal, right? And so we are the what they call the matrix is on the external, and that's where they would keep you. Electronics, how many times do you notice you're picking up your electronics? You're in your mind space every time you do that. That's actually external. Okay. Analyzing. Oh, good Lord. I remember in psychology, a lot of people want to analyze. They want to think it through. And I'm like, drop into your body and see what it tells you. Right? Our body tells us way more than our mind can. Our mind is more of like that computer aspect. And so the compass pointing external, you're not awake. When the compass starts pointing internal and you start seeking your heart, because that's really where God lies, right? That's really where we're all connected, is on the internal. And if your compass is external, if you think you can create your environment by focusing external, we're wrong, okay? And this is what they taught us so long. And doctors are a good example that I like to use. And I was in the psychology field. I went to med school for many years. Was very good at what I did, but it was not my heart center. Okay, it was not the reality of how we create and things. But it's really good to. I used to question this. I'm like, doctors would confuse the shit out of me. I'm like, wait a minute, they're speaking all this stuff, but it doesn't make sense for me. Like, have you ever noticed that? It's like, they read a book, they study all this stuff, and then they do it. I mean, not all doctors are the same, so don't assume I'm speaking through every doctor. Some are more holistic, and those are the ones who truly realize that we're all different, and we all require different things. But to actually go seek out somebody who doesn't know anything about you to answer your internal environment is quite confusing, right? It would always confuse the shit out of me. Like, how do they know more than I do? When I was a kid, I used to think, how does an external person know more than I do about what's going on the inside? And I would question that. Now I know why I would. Because the kind of healer I am. Like, the other day I went into my body and I'm like, all right, God, how do I fix my body after my DM died? I'm not like, I got to look good again, And then I actually got a list of things. And so that's the confusing thing, is we were taught so much to look on the external for answers. Okay. And with the end days, it's super important to let all that go. Church is another one. God is not outside. God is actually not in the church. And you can not like me for saying that all you want, but it was so manipulated. And that's one of the next things to fall, is the false church, right? And so I've known many people to be super religious and yet behind doors extremely judgmental, or certain aspects, they become like money hungry, different things like that, and all these things that are not of God. Okay, God isn't here. And when I called us home, that's what it was. It was like I lit this light in our heart space, and I was like, everybody was called home. I read this scroll for the feminines, and then the masculine, Malachi, read from my DM. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to remember. And we read this scroll, and it activated everybody's light home, and that's in the heart space. And so your compass should be internal. If it's focused on the external, if you're addicted to electronics, if you're addicted to these things that keep you on the external, it is your job to fix that compass. Let it go, reprogram the mind. That's why meditation, right? That's why that is such an important thing. And it used to be not as common as it is now, and not as accepted as it is now to meditate, to calm the mind, to go within, because that is where God is. Okay. And so the people who have an easier time co-creating, it's because they already connect to their heart space a lot easier than those that don't. Okay. How do we connect to our heart space? You have to heal the path. All right. Everything I do is healing your path to your heart space, healing your path home. That's what I do. And that's what I activated. All those gates are your path home. That's the ascension. Each gate represents another vibration, another challenge, and another karmic kickback. Because each time you go higher, you can't have any of those lower vibrational traits. Okay. So we get lost when we're not connected inward. We do. And I'm a mystic. Okay. That's what God is. That's what Jesus would talk about, is mysticism. What that means is God is here. And I always knew this as a kid too. I went to church once, a couple times. I had only one that I liked, and it was non-denominational. And we would just pray together. That was my heart space, because that's all it was. They didn't preach anything to me. They didn't make me eat the cracker and the wine. I always felt weird about that too. Little did we know, that's how Jesus died. But the one church that I went to, they locked us in this basement, and they told us we were all going to go to hell if we didn't get baptized that day. I literally ran out. I was like, I'm going to hell. I'm not dunking my head in your water. I'm going to hell. And I cried for like 3 hours. It was all this fear, you're going to go to hell if you don't please, if you're not baptized, you ain't going to hell. The only thing that's going to not allow you to ascend is not being able to heal that path to the heart space. Okay. If you can't co-create, if you can't hear God, if you can't hear your heart, if you can't hear that co-creation path, right? That guidance, that's what I do. Everything I've done is to heal all of those false aspects, the false shadow, the false ego. And they spent so long telling you you're supposed to be half dark and half light, right? That yin and the yang was all messed up because they took the masculine and feminine. We went way out of balance with that. And it was all just wackadoodle. And it was wrong. Because if you truly think about it, the vibration of fear does not match the vibration of love. You cannot house them both. And when I crossed over into the gates, and I don't know if Gigi can vouch for this because I know she did not that long ago, it's totally like a different aspect. It's a different feel. Anything that is not in the aspect of love, it can almost like take over, because it's powerful creation. Okay. And that's why you have to have a pure heart to go through. And that's really all. It's not about judgment. That's the church aspect, right? God doesn't judge. Only people do. People judge. People are painful. People hurt. God doesn't. Okay. And not every people. Don't get me wrong there either. And so it's super important to pay attention to where your compass is pointed. Now, here's the reason we need to isolate. Okay. When we start awakening, especially when you go through my stuff is the highest vibration you could possibly go. It is the highest path you could possibly go on. Okay. I was watching this one guy. He was like, how do you know if you're on your highest path? It was that one guy. I think Roger mentioned him one time. What was his name? He's the bald guy. What's his name? And he works with the other guy. Sometimes I forget his name because he really doesn't spark my interest. I'm always like aversion to him, but he's like, how do you know you're on your highest timeline? I'm like, well, you'd already be through the gates. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Because Victor Otto, thank you. Yes, him. And I'm not saying he's a bad dude. He just doesn't quite. There's something about him that always like, oh, it hits my solar plexus. It hits me right in the gut. But he was like, how do you know you're on your highest timeline? And the thing about that is the vibration is usually higher. But does your vibration always have to be sky high to be on your highest timeline? No. I think that's where people get it wrong, because when we're healing, our vibration doesn't always stay high. But that doesn't mean you're not raising that vibration to a higher realm. And so the work that I did puts you on your highest possible timeline. Why is that? Because you're healing everything that is not God with Christ's light, with that of God. Okay, if you haven't watched the work that I do by now, for those who don't know me, I am the one who brought about the ascension. I can prove that up, down, left, right, and center if you've watched my work, okay? I post it all on here for everybody to see. I would say a good 75% of it is actually on this channel, but it shows you my awakening and it shows you the process of bringing about the ascension. And Lisa, this is very true. Vibrations fluctuate. And that's what gets me too. It's like these people are like, oh, shun those of a lower vibration. That's judgment. That's not a high vibration, okay? So we have to understand what that truly means. Anything outside of unconditional love is a lower vibration that won't match you going forward. Does that mean that we don't have low days? No. Okay? And so it bugs me when I see spiritual people going, oh, stay away from those of this and that. And it's like, dude, then how are you going to help people? You know what I mean? Don't judge, because judgment is not of God. And that's where the church really, truly falters. If you really dive into what the church preaches, a majority of them, it doesn't align. Okay. It's a division. They were manipulated and changed in order for power. And that's not of God. Okay. And so that's why the rapture is happening, because people fell too far away. And so a majority of the world does have healing to do, like Victor Otto. He still does too, okay? So even he is not quite on his highest timeline yet. Maybe he gives good advice on how to get there. I don't know. I didn't listen to the video, but I just found it interesting. I'm like, the highest timeline you could possibly go to is to truly go within to your hard space and heal everything that is not that. No matter how hard it is, because it can be hard. Because that's what the shadow does, right? Your ego, it's so ingrained because we were born here. And then the electronics, like there's no coincidences to the world in which we were created in. All the distractions that pop up when you try to do these things are insane. Have you noticed that? Like Gigi, I'm sure she can vouch for this. I know if Just Saint was here, she could vouch for this too, because she went through it. Amy, I don't see her on my lives much anymore at all, but I'm sure she could vouch for it too. Is that as soon as you go through one of these gates, something tries to stop you, okay? It can be, and it's always on your external environment, never on the internal. And this is why isolation is important. Vibrations from other people don't match. That's why beings like myself, it's been a lonely journey, right? Like I can't date anybody outside my twin flame. I cannot. First of all, God did marry us on this journey. He did a couple times over because the first one died. But I can't go outside of that because we don't match. We're not even meant to be, right? Like we don't match. And so as you start to awaken, those that are around you, you start to, hello, you start to detach from that. It can become an isolated thing. And at times, if you try anything else, it kind of bites you in the ass, right? Hello, I don't know who you are, 443 Toys, hello. And Gigi says, yes, ma'am. So, the journey home is quite different. It's an inward journey. It's not external. The moment you go through those gates or the moment you try to heal that shadow, something will try to stop you. The only way to bypass that is keep your journey inward. Okay? We have to keep our compass pointed inward. And it's not that we shun people. Don't get me wrong. Spirit wants us to have fun. It's not about, oh, I can't talk to you. There we are again with judgment, right? It's never about that. But it's always having your compass pointed inward first, because if you do not, you're not going to know what doesn't feel right. It's so much easier. Like if you're waiting for people to validate you, if you need others to see what you're doing, that's a red flag, a huge red flag, especially if you do my work. Okay, now this may not be as relevant doing other people's healings and things because of who I am. Okay, I am the one who brought it about. So like Gigi went through the whole entire thing and through the gates. Just Saint did, but she's not here. Amy did, but she's not here. And I'm sure each one of them can tell you the same thing. And Lisa, she's been on this path too for a minute. She's working her way there too. And so as soon as you go through these gates, something tries to stop you. And it's always something on the external environment. Loved ones, relationships, friends, anything. It could be anything on the external environment. But when our compass is pointed within and we focus on co-creation, this is why meditation is important. This is why being able to go to your heart space is important. Or if you can't, at least isolate. Because only that internal thing is going to be able to tell you what's right or what's wrong. Because here's the thing. Because you love somebody, can you really see their heart clearly? You don't know. You don't know where their karma is. You don't know. We cannot make assumptions that just because this person next to us that we love so very much so is going to make it through. We don't know. I can read people's heart spaces, but that's actually not something that everybody can do. That's a private thing, okay? And it's being done for the ascension. And I talked about this. Gigi, she went through the gates recently. I walked her through. And she is working her way through my academy, but she did every one of my workshops. Okay. She went through every portal activation that I did. She saw me and worked through every bit of Christ light because I kept bringing down Christ light through all the rays. She did them all. What was I going to say? I don't know, Gigi, where was I going with that one? Something, I paid attention to the number going up and down and I was like, poof, out the door it went. I don't know where I was going with that one. Do you? Where I was going with that one? Where was I going with that one? I don't know. Distractions. I'm sure it'll come back to me. I don't know. Brain fire. Blonde moment. True blonde. Not coloring. I don't know. If we are not able to connect with our heart space, it is much harder to tell where the shadow is hurting you or trying to stop you. And this is a battle for the soul the whole way through. And that is why they say the righteousness make it through. That is why they say only the pure of heart will make it through. Only a select few, the chosen ones. I don't like that word. They don't call me the chosen one. I don't like that. I don't call myself a prophet either. When I went into the Nile, Spirit called me the Queen of Life. That's what they called me, the one, the Queen of Life, not the chosen one. You know what that word does? That creates like, oh, you're better than me. No. No, I'm what they call a sentient being. So I'm a little bit different because of the capabilities, right? But nobody's chosen over the other. That negates unconditional love. Okay. And then God is unconditional love. So again, here we are with the division. You're a chosen one and I'm not. No, I'm willing to do the work and maybe you're not. Okay. There's a difference. I can see something's wrong with this external fake environment. Oh, I was talking about the shadow and the heart nudges and things and how it can affect us. But that's the difference. It's like I can see these star beings and things like that. They are just more evolved individuals. Okay? Because they either come from that space or they did the work to get there. I remember Saint, right? When she went through, they offered her an opportunity to be part of the 144,000. And she's an apostle, right? And so can we evolve into something higher? Yes. How do you do that? By knowing God is in here and by doing the work to get there. Okay. So Gigi says, I have had to go internal to get where I am today, and it is my path, not anybody else's. Thank you. And so I think as people we're like, well, I don't want to lose, I don't want to lose people, and I don't want to. You guys, I had to accept that a long time ago. That even the person that I was bringing it about, this is something that I had to accept a long time ago, because I was like, well, if I'm bringing this about and people are going to die, and if you have to actually heal to get there, I'm going to lose people, right? And God says that that's not my job to worry about, because it's free will. Okay. So I could sit here and like, I've told somebody I know, my mom, right? She's like, she doesn't get it. She doesn't quite see where the darkness lies. And that's what I was talking about too, is if we're not internal and we don't isolate ourselves, we can't become a clear thing. Okay. We can't see where the darkness lies. So we focus on that false God that they've been shoving down your throat for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. Okay. You're engulfed in the shadow. You're engulfed in the ego, and we can't see clearly. Lisa says it's hard to accept, but why? That's your ego. That's your ego. Honestly, because I did the path. I literally gave it to my mom, and I'm like, here you go. For free, here's the whole path home. And the moment she got it, it was like these vultures on her, and then all of a sudden she couldn't see clearly through me, and I can't force her to do anything. Okay. So it's our ego that says, well, that's sad, or I don't want that. I need to be with them, or these kinds of things. But here's the thing about that. This is why isolation is important. And this reminds me of my original twin flame. Do y'all remember David? Well, you didn't get to meet him, but I'm sure you saw that whole thing fold out if you've watched me long enough. Some people here have. Roger has. Lisa has. Gigi has. Roger's never worked with me, though. So he watches a lot of this on the external. He doesn't quite feel it here yet. But Spirit says he will. Aw, thank you very much. But here's the thing. My original DM, right? He was surrounded by that darkness. This is why he died. This is why he didn't make it. I couldn't pull him out in time. I couldn't wake him up in time so he could see clearly. And I remember Spirit constantly telling him, you need to leave the group of people you're around because you can't see clearly. Okay, so he was saturated in their vibration. He was saturated in their false reality, right? And so he couldn't see clearly. This was part, and he was like, well, I could hear it because I could hear him on the internal more than I can my new DM. And I would hear these conversations that he would have with them and stuff. And it was like harsh. It was like not real. And Spirit kept telling him, you need to break away from those people because you can't see clearly. Okay, so this is why, right? Roger, do the work. Sunshine, buy my stepping stones to awakening. You want a discount? I'll give you a discount. Do an exchange, buy that damn thing and do it and see what happens. Or work with me. Like my one-on-ones are quite expensive. Things that I have price tags on them, but don't ever let that stop you. If you need help, I will help you. I remember Jacinth was always like, I can't afford this. I'm like, what can you afford? And we would do it. Like, it's never about a money thing because money's not of God. Plus, you can create your own reality. You can call in money. Okay. If it's something that's your heart center, Spirit will be like, okay, here you go. We'll make this work for you. Okay. So never, ever let that be your excuse, and never let the false church be your excuse either, Roger. Okay. You need to start going internal to your heart space. So if you want something I've got, let me know and we can make a deal. Okay. I want you to do this because you're asking me questions for a reason, Roger. You found me years ago and watched my whole entire thing for a reason. Hello, everybody. So when my DM refused to get out of that environment, he kept trying to bring Christ light into it. And it was where Spirit wouldn't go because he was with fallen angels. And they would literally tell him, we can't go there. We cannot go where you're at, but the moment you come out, we will heal you. And this is what they kept telling him. And he wouldn't see clearly because he was saturated with those people. Okay. So Lisa, specifically, this is a good message for you, is that when we are surrounded by individuals, we don't know who they are. We may know who they are, right? I hope you're not coming here calling me a Karen. I'm going to be like, you can bunk out. That's insulting, right? I don't know who Karen is. I'm not a Karen. I don't know who there's somebody's like, hi Karen. I'm like, no, no Karen's here. I don't know no Karen. Do you know a Karen? I'm not a Karen. But when we start awakening, God will isolate us for a reason. Okay, especially when we start ascending. So if you go through my path like Gigi has, you have to become isolated to a degree. Even, I'm sure, even in times with her husband, she didn't relate. Okay, I'm sure she had to protect her energy at certain times. I can almost guarantee it. Actually, I can feel it because I can feel her heart space. Not that she left him, okay, but it was her journey and her journey alone. She didn't share it with people because that is where the shadow will work, first of all. And if we don't leave these energies, sometimes we can't see clearly. Okay. So it's super important for you to understand that it's not a journey of acceptance. The only one who needs to accept you is you. It's a journey of self-love. It's a journey of self-love. It's a journey of healing the self, okay, and making your way back to God. Because the only thing that blocks us is all of the shitstorm we're breaking away from, okay, or your karma. A lot of us chosen to, I've heard people tell me I don't have any karma. Yes, you do. We all do. I had karma through 3 lifetimes that I had to heal, and I talk about that, right? What were my 3 lifetimes? You guys have heard me say this many times. I actually had 4. One was when I didn't wake up, and I don't talk about that one a lot. It was in the 1800s, and I had to clear it. And I cleared it when I was 13, and I didn't know it. But I actually killed somebody in that lifetime. I did, because they killed my baby. And I had to clear that at the age of 13. So bad things happened to me, ended up pregnant at 13, and my mom told my brother to take care of it. And he did. He beat me until I lost the baby. But in this lifetime, all I could do was respond in love, okay? And it cleared that karma. So if you think you don't have karma, maybe you don't have a lot in this lifetime, but you might have in another lifetime. You might have in another lifetime, okay? No, wait a minute. How can I kill somebody and be on the path to God? Because I cleared that karma, okay? I had to flush that baby down the toilet this lifetime. And I'm sure in the 1800s, I was pretty young too, because back then we didn't live that long, right? But I didn't wake up that lifetime. So the ascension says every lifetime you've ever had must be cleared because it's a reset. I don't hear Victor Otto talking about that. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. And that's what gets me. I'm like, okay, how connected can we truly be? Who's going to talk about this? And I mentioned this during one of my workshops right after that. I told you every lifetime you've had is being combined into this one for a heart measure. That's what the Egyptians would talk about. Your heart is measured for an entry into heaven. Okay. It's not just this lifetime, my friends. It's every lifetime you've ever had. These what our contracts are important for. And that's why it was a detriment when all of those healers were eliminating contracts. There was like a wave of this about a year or 2 ago. I talked about that. And that was a detriment. Can I heal that? I've actually had to heal one before and bring it back forward. There was some damage done to it, but I actually was able to do that because of who I am. But can everybody do that? No. So it's really important not to eliminate contracts. Super important to learn from them, to heal them, to clear your karma. That's what our contracts are about. Okay. They are ways to learn to love. What the karma is choices we've made outside of love, choices we've made outside of God. Does that mean we have to be perfect, you guys? Hell no. No. When I had my awakening, I was a pothead. Okay. That's all I did. My DM was a big time druggie, but this was part of what we had to clear. And I did it on my own. Can I do that now? Nope, not as much as I'd want to. But nobody's perfect. Okay. This is where church goes wrong. This is where judgment is. Okay. God is unconditional. So does God judge people who have different sexual preferences? No. The only thing that matters is you cutting yourself off from God by doing things outside of love. Okay. Now that's a concept all in itself, right? Because that's different from what people say. So there should be no judgment. You should never judge anybody for being different. You should never judge anybody for making mistakes. The only difference is when people don't have that in their heart. They don't seem to care. You know what I mean? You ever seen some of those? They don't care. Nothing you do, it doesn't matter to them, right? They're really cold. There's like no life in there. That's your difference. Okay. So can people who've made mistakes make their way through this path to God? Yes. And that's where I don't want the confusion to come in, is when we say you have to be righteousness and you have to be this and only the chosen ones can come through. Gibbly gobbly gook. Do they have a heart? Does their heart flicker? Can they see something's not right? And are they willing to choose God the whole way through? That's the only thing that matters. Are you willing to heal what you didn't heal before? So yeah, Lisa's like, thank you for saying that. So much judgment and discrimination against queer individuals. And that's true. Here's the thing about that, though, is we got way out of balance. Okay. There was an imbalance in masculine and feminine. So I think that's why it went so extreme in some areas, right? If you know what I mean. Like, we should not be giving our children hormone blockers and allowing them to change their I feel like that's more in body dysmorphia. Okay. We should tend to love ourselves for exactly who we are. Even if we're different, even if we may not feel comfortable within our body, there's usually something we can heal within that. Yes, yes. And that's where judgment lies, God doesn't lie. Okay? Where judgment is, God does not resign. All right? That's what gets me. That's what I talked about on Facebook yesterday. I'm like, if I post proof of what I say I'm doing and people refuse to watch it and just leave, they're in judgment. Those are the ones who won't make it through. Okay, if you're not willing to heal what is outside of God and make your way back to the path of God, that is the only thing that's going to stop you is you. Okay, maybe some of us have more karma than others, and maybe it's a bitch to clear it. Well, do it. And then when you're done, you'll be like, oh, thank God. I'm so glad I made it through that. Oh, that was hard. And you can be thankful, and it feels so good when you do. But can it kick your ass? Abso-freaking-lutely. It kicked mine a few times, okay? Just because I'm the one who brought it about, I went through those portals. I had to clear those portals, and I had to fight the shadow the whole way through. And I remember in the Sekhmet portal, remember how they like poured beer down the river? I was like, you guys don't realize is they killed her, because that was I had to call that lifetime back. And through that portal, I couldn't let any self-sabotage get me. I couldn't let any, and don't think it didn't try, because it did. It was constantly like, oh, go smoke pot. Nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I can't do it as much as I wanted to. Okay, that's true. That's a reality. All right, because that's one of my only vices. That's one of the only ways the shadow can get me. And if you think it doesn't work through marijuana, you're wrong. Okay, that's why they call it the devil's grass. But it is medicinal. It absolutely is. We just have to know how to use it within balance. And it's when you let it take your free will away from you. That's when it goes outside of God. Okay. Hardcore drugs were not made by man. All right. Or they were made by man, not by God. You know what I'm saying? Hi, Chloe. Absolutely. I'd love to. Thanks for being here. I love that. I love seeing all the new people. I love this so much. Welcome. Now, Roger, are you still here? I have a question for you. One of the times you're like, I can't make it to your live because I have to go to church. And I was like, ooh, that's a shadow. That was a red flag. That was a shadow component, because if you can't make it to the one who brought about the ascension, but the church was blocking you, and the church is so saturated with darkness and it's about to fall, how did that make you feel in your heart space that day? Did you hear what I just asked? Do you remember that day, Roger, where you're like, I can't make it? And now today you were blocked from going to church. And so here you are with me. And there's a reason for that. Okay. God is trying to nudge you, but can you hear the calls? It's when we allow these ego pieces, we allow these excuses, because true God is not in most of the church. And I know that's hard to fathom, but you have to consider that's a false God. Yes. Okay. Doesn't mean that they don't use true aspects of God in there, because they do. This is how it became so embedded, and how people I know. I love Roger so much. I'm so glad he's here. Roger's been here with me since day one. He's watched my whole journey unfold, you guys. Gigi has, I know Amy and Jacinth had too. So there's a lot of them that have. It's been a journey. My whole ascension, my whole awakening and me bringing about the ascension played out on this channel. And it was painful at times, especially when my DM came involved. And then he died, and oh, that was just rough. And so some people did go into judgment at that time, which was a bummer. But the thing is where we start to find the heart, things will try to stop us. And it looks like ego. It looks like, but we don't see it clearly, especially when we're saturated in it. But the moment you detach yourself from those things, you'll start to see clearer. Okay, this is why isolation is important, especially through the beginning parts of your awakening, because you must be able to heal enough to see what is of God and what is not, because that's the way the shadow works. It works through what matters to us. Okay, it does. So if you're like, well, and it's your ego that says, well, I don't want to do this because I don't want to leave my loved ones. That's your ego. Who knows you have to leave them? You don't. It's all ego-based. But we can't see that clearly until we really start going inward, start healing ourselves, and anything outside is a distraction from that. It takes us from that process. So how do you know you're on your highest timeline? Your compass is pointed inward and you're co-creating every day. That's how you know you're on your highest timeline. You're healing. Your compass is pointing inward and you're co-creating every day. How do we co-create? Here's the thing about that. The way that spirit gives you messages and nudges, it's usually felt within, right? But it's those nudges. It's those sudden like, that's interesting to me. I need to go there. And then the shadow works in the distractions against that. Well, you don't need to do that. You need to come over here, right? Oh, Roger, I'm glad you said this. Okay, because I got to tell you something. And there's a reason why you're here today. There's a reason why you were blocked. Now, Lisa can vouch for this because Lisa's been going through my programs. And I don't know about Gigi. I don't know if she's religious or not. But Jacinth and I cleared Catholicism. Okay, so I'm going to read. We did. So here's the thing about that. We cleared it all the way through the entire bloodline, which went to Vladimir. Vladimir was a person that was alive. I didn't do a lot of research into him yet. Hello. But Vladimir was actually alive. You can look it up through history, but that was the timeline when Catholicism became dark. Okay, so it didn't start out that way. It didn't. God's word was pure at first. Well, as pure as it could be in our interpretation, right? But Vladimir timeline, I can't remember what year it was either. I wish Justine was here, but she was gone this weekend. So Roger says it's different for me. I understand that and know that, but me being Mexican and Cuban, and I'm a mutt, right? Like I'm a little bit of everything. And having a mom and a dad that were hardcore Catholic Catholic is just different. I dated a gentleman too in the beginning of this who was extremely religious, and there was at times where he would falter with that. He would fight that in his heart space, and he truly believed in what I was doing because he was watching it unfold when I was activating the pyramids. I'm like, I don't understand this. Are you going to freak out? The Bible's wrong. And he goes, no, this is I can't do. He would prove what I was doing to me was right, because he knew things about the earth, and he's like, Bree, that's real. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden he started falling away from the church. So that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Here's the thing about that, Roger, is being deeply religious is a commitment to spirit, but a manipulated one. I think that's the best way to say that. I'm looking up here at the comments because I'm on my phone, so I don't see them very clear. So if I look up here, it's because I'm reading the comments and stuff. That's the thing there, okay? Because it became corrupt. So when you think about how Jesus died, Roger, I don't know if you've done communion. I did that once where I went and they fed me wine and bread. And on live on this channel a year ago, I did a guided healing live, remember, on Christmas. I don't know if you watched that one. It is where I undid the false Holy Grail. Okay. And I reunited Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And I spoke about how Jesus had died. I learned that 2 years ago when I freed his soul and he went into the Garden of Eden. He was poisoned. He didn't die on a cross. He was fed bread and wine. I kept saying bread and wine, bread and wine. John the Apostle, bread. And I kept saying it weird because I don't go to church and I don't read the Bible. I always knew something was wrong with that, but I always had God in my heart. Okay. But I was like, it's the apostle, like John, and Sean was with me at the time. He's like, John the apostle. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, he gave him bread and water, I was baptized once too. Gave him bread and wine. I was like, he fed him bread and wine. And I said, but he was so hungry. He took them both. He was so hungry. And Jesus knew something was wrong with it. He questioned it. Now, here's the thing. It was so painful because I felt his death for the next 20 minutes. I cried and screamed, and he took a bite of the bread and he drank the wine really quick because he was so famished and so hungry. And he looked like he was just sunburnt. You know what I mean? Like the sand blowing on his skin, and it looked like leathery, and he looked tired, and he looked like he needed that nourishment. And so he took it, assuming this person was like his friend. But he killed him. For the next 20 minutes after he ate that, he started dying from the inside out. So it was, what would I say it was? Do you guys remember? I don't know if Gigi's still here. She might remember. I always get it wrong because I'm not in it anymore. Strychnine or cyanide. It was one of those two because it was the S one. So it was strychnine or cyanide that they poisoned Jesus, and John the Apostle did. Now, Revelation speaks of the apocalypse of John. Okay, so that is part of it. But it's more than just cyanide. Yeah, I always do that because it happened in 2021 that I found that out. And then when I undid the false Holy Grail, after he bled out, because that's what cyanide does, it started eating his insides, and I was like crying. I was in so much pain during this healing, and I didn't know it was coming. All of a sudden, I just saw Jesus in his life, and I'm like, but he's alive. And then I saw him being offered that, and I knew where his heart was. I knew why he hesitated, and then I knew why he took it, and it was bread and wine. Okay? Now think about what the churches do. Okay? He didn't die on a cross. You guys don't have to believe me. Please watch my work. Gigi doesn't remember. So this was back in 2021. If you look on my Ascension playlist, it's the very first video on there. This was a Patreon healing I did back then when Pamela and everybody was a part of it. And so I just thought I was doing a Patreon healing. And I went into the healing, and in the very end of it, all of a sudden I was like, I see Jesus. And I'm like, but he was alive. And it went kind of fast because I was still new to what was happening to me. I didn't understand it. And so then I ate the bread and wine, and then the most pain, I just cried, and it was like the most excruciating pain, and I was like, ah, and it was horrible. And then he started bleeding out of every orifice. So he bled out of his pores, he bled out of his mouth, he bled out of his eyes. That's what being poisoned can do. Okay, that's how Jesus died. So they put him on a cross because the true cross is the Ankh. The Ankh is represented by, right, union of masculine and feminine and eternal life. That's what the Ankh is. That's what the true cross is. And if you don't believe me, that's okay. But it's real. I can't deny it. It happened to me and through me, and it's a part of the ascension process. It is a part of all the work that I've done. And then on Christmas last year was when I united him and Mary Magdalene, because that's what happened. So they murdered him. They ripped them apart as twin flames, and then they got Mary Magdalene to gather his blood in that cup, and then they wrote a contract with his blood, and that's what I undid. And I returned their souls back together, which was also me and my DM, but he didn't show, so the original had passed on, and I got to walk in, okay? This is what happened. So Roger, every time you go to church, you're praising a false god. God's already in your heart. So let the church heal. That's the best thing I can say. But it doesn't mean that you're going against God. You're actually playing further into the shadow because the church is about to fall. So they would depict Jesus on a cross for a reason. And it's a part of mocking God. So you hear those people say, we've mocked God long enough. They've mocked God too much. They were saying, ha ha, we took away your feminine and your masculine, and we have his soul hostage, because that's what I had to free. Okay. I spent a year fighting for my twin flame soul. Amy, I wish she would come to my lives anymore, but she doesn't. But she watched that whole entire thing unfold at that time. Very much so, because she had to heal me on that. That was the time she was in my academy. And I was getting attacked by what I found out to be 3 fallen angels. Hello, 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 everybody. I love seeing all these new people here. If you don't know me, I talk about things that may not be normal. I encourage you to check out my channel. The things that I do come through workshops, and, you know, they're just not normal. Awesome. That's great. There's nothing wrong with being baptized. I think that's awesome. But, you know, I still would say that it's going to be a little shocking coming forward, because the church is about to fall in a very big way. But the thing about that is God is real. They were just praising a false God, right? Like pushing a false God, trying to shove it down our throats. And when I went, like communion, you know, they make you eat the bread that killed him. They make you drink the wine that killed him. And then they laugh, and then they make you put all these crosses. So I had just, Susan, I don't know how long you've been watching, but I've been talking about it. Part of what I've done is bring about the ascension, and you don't have to believe it. I can show you everything I'm saying. But a year ago on my channel, I did a guided meditation that came through live on Christmas Day, and I united Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and I undid the false Holy Grail. Part of the apocalypse or the ascension is the false church. Okay. It's truly false. Doesn't mean God's false, but it means their depiction of God and what they would shove down people's throats is all false. Okay. Jesus did not die on a cross. Mother Mary's real. I know this because that was part of what I was also healing. Okay. A lot of the things are real, but they would spin it, and then they would add things in it that weren't of God. Okay. So anything with fear, division, judgment, none of that is God. Essentially what they did was kill your God and then mock him and laugh at him and shove it in front of your face on a cross. That's a false cross. It is. You know, there's a new movie out right now. It's called The Pope's Exorcist. And I watched that, and it's quite accurate. So in that movie, they talk about the possession. I don't want to ruin the movie in case you want to watch it. I'm not really into scary movies or anything, but this one actually was like, holy shit. They're telling you parts of the truth right here, because it is the darkness or El Diablo or whatever you want to call it, right? The angels that I fought and burned was Archangel Samael, and that is who they call Lucifer or El Diablo. And in the end, they were possessing the Pope. So if you take it back to Vladimir, Jacinth and I cleared all of Catholicism, all of the falsehoods out of the bloodline of that. It's basically like that. You can call it a possession, right? It's like the darkness fights for your soul. So Gigi says, in the Catholic Church, your parents make that decision to baptize you. You did not have free will choice in that. That's true. Like when we're a kid, religion is taught to us. We really didn't have free will in that. And that's also what is outside of God, is anything outside of free will. I love that you said that, Gigi. Gigi has done everything I've done, and I walked her through the gates already. And Jacinth too, like she's part of that bloodline. That was part of her purpose on the ascension path, was to help me clear that. And so, you know, there's a lot. When you see the churches, like you guys, I live in Colorado, and I don't know if you guys heard about this because it was a national thing, right? There was a pastor here. What was his name? Ted Haggard. If anybody, this was, I was messing with my back scratcher. Ted Haggard. Have you guys ever heard of him? He was a pastor out of Colorado, and I think it was like the family center. I can't remember what the church was that he did. Alexa, who was Ted Haggard with? Ted Haggard.
From FaceLocal.com. Hager is married to Catalina White, a model who has been
No, never mind. Alexa off. She's like not connected anymore. I don't know where she goes sometimes. Ted Haggard. He ran a church here in Colorado. Now, this guy had lots. This was a big church. It became a large conglomerate. Okay. And little did they know, though, he was doing meth in the back with some dude, right? And cheating on his wife, having an affair with a man, and also like dealing meth or doing meth or something like that. And his name was Ted Haggard. And he worked. And if you really truly pay attention to the church, it is filled with darkness. Okay. So the day that Roger was like, I can't come see you live, and I'm the one who brought it about, I'm the one who helped Jesus return and all that stuff. And you don't have to believe me, just watch my channel. And then you're like, I can't come to your live because I have to go to church. I was like, ooh, this might be why you're not connecting to that heart space. Okay. Because there is a false truth. It's a false God they've been shoving down your throat. It's a false reality. And that's why I'm here. That's why I did the work that I did. It was very painful. Okay. They lied to you. There's 13 gates, not 12. When I cleared the Nile, they said that. Okay. The 13th gate is actually the gates to heaven. And the only reason why the chosen ones they're not chosen at all. They just have pure hearts. They cleanse their hearts. They heal their karma. They choose to see what is real and what is not. And they let go of all that is not, including judgment, including ego, anything to do with the shadow. Okay. That's what get us through the gates. Gigi did all of my healings. She had to do this too. It's not easy. It's not like I was just like, you get to go and you get to go. It's not how God works. Okay. If you don't show up to my church and your feet, you know what I mean? Like they have so many control things. They make it sound so great. And then behind the scenes, they're raping kids. They're killing people. They're doing drugs, cheating on their wife with some other dude. You know what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? It's a false reality you've been totally saturated in. Okay. And that's why it's like even the cross alone, I've never owned a cross. I could never relate to it. Now I know why. Because it's not the true cross. Jesus didn't die on a cross. And then you think about at church how let's do communion, eat the bread and the wine. And they're like, ha, ha, ha. Now you're worshiping what is not of God. And this is what they constantly do. They get you to worship what is not of God. God would never ask you to sacrifice people. He would never ask you to go to war. None of that is of God. I've had to clear all that bloodshed. And when I turned the Nile red in that workshop, they put my feet in the water and then it turned blood red. And I'm like, whoa. And I knew it was blood. And then I cleansed it off this planet. I asked him what all that blood was. Okay. It's all the bloodshed that they've either caused, gotten people to do, and it's also those who choose not to go. That's what the blood is. It is being purged. Everything's being purified from your money to the church, everything. Okay. When I activated British Columbia, Mount Kilimanjaro, that workshop, and it's all on my channel, you guys. These are on my channel. So please check them out. They're in the Ascension playlist. Is a really easy way to see all this. But I do these through workshops and I activate pyramids. I moved the crystalline grid. I repaired it. All of that stuff. And when I did, see, I don't think Roger's watched these. Right? Oh, well, ask your question, Roger. Everybody's putting stuff in the chat. I don't know why you're not asking them. Ask them. But let me finish this really quick and then I'll go back to that. So ask your questions and I'll get to it. And I'll read Gigi's comment too because she's spot on. But when I activated British Columbia, Mount Kilimanjaro, which was a big deal. Okay, that one was important because when I cleared Mount Shasta, the DM energy went to Kilimanjaro. I activated that and then I blew it up 3 times energetically. I was like, boom, it's going to erupt. Boom, 3 times. Then I went under the White House and so everything that happens in your reality happens in the energy first. This is how manifesting works. This is how everything is created. This is how it works. And so what I do in the energy, and then it boomerangs back around for all of you. It's true. And if you watch the videos, like, it's true. Everything's been proven and plays out. He's like, okay, then start typing them out, buddy. I'm here. This is why, but I wish you would watch these too, Roger. So I know you don't watch some of these things. So when I activated those and I blew up Mount Kilimanjaro in the energy, I went under the White House. Now, the White House was strategically placed to line up with that false veil, right? They use numerology, they use God's power, they use the number 13, which they would convince you was a dark number. All of these kinds. And then the Bible tells you there's only 12 gates. There's 13. The 13th is the gate to heaven. Okay. I went under the White House, and that is where I burned Samael. I undid, no, that's wrong. I burned Samael at Mount Shasta. Underneath the White House, though, there were all of these like bunkers that I went to, and I like collapsed them. I purged them, but there's like souls in them. They have like souls trapped in there. They do rituals, and I saw them in like these cloaks, or like these it was black robes, which got me, because you remember when the new guy in England was like crowned? They had one of those people at his thing, and I was like, oh, that's what I saw underneath the White House. They are connected, and they're the ones who created the vid, by the way. Not China. It was us in England. Okay, the monarchy. Dark as all get out. But we're actually in cahoots. And so they showed me this, and they were wearing crosses upside down. Okay. And they were wearing black cloaks, and they would go, I will actually answer. I like that question. They will go under there, and they would do like these rituals. Okay. And so the White House is like strategically placed and all of that. Well, I cut it all off. I removed all of the souls, and then I blew it up. So that one you can watch. You have to watch the Mount Kilimanjaro, British Columbia, and the Congo workshop, which is posted. I activated pyramids there, and I cleared out the White House and blew it up. And so that's the rapture, you guys, is everywhere the false, what they call the Antichrist, will go. The earth will be purged. Okay. And so if you think right now the church is where God is, you're wrong. God is in your heart. Okay. If you think you need a cross with Jesus on it, I would actually say throw it out. Now that might piss people off. Go get you an ankh. Okay. That's how you're going to praise God. Truly, for the real though. Okay. So I'm going to go back up here. Gigi says it is a path, and it has been work, because Gigi did every one of my pyramid activations workshops, all of the portals that I activated, and she's in my academy, but I also got to walk her through the gates. She's one of the few. She says it is a path, and it has been work. She has had to work. You have to take your power back to get to where you want to be, and that's what it's truly about. So they've manipulated the shit out of you through taking your free will to getting you to think that you're praising God, and all the time you've been praising a false God and mocking the real one. And that's what everybody's about to be hit with in the collective soul. So if you notice, even like tarot card readers, they're like, the Minnow Pond guy, sometimes I'll watch him. And there's another one that I'll watch sometimes too. Because tarot is not of darkness. It's the user that matters. And so those that are connected, I will pay attention to. And Minnow Pond, he keeps pulling a massive tarot tower card for the whole entire collective, like repeatedly pulling the tower card. And that's because everything's about to crumble right before your eyes. We only have 2 years left on this planet. And within that time, you're going to watch Mount Shasta do its thing, California suffer, things are going to happen, like it's for real. And first, it's going to hit the church. And even people who are in the church are talking about this if they are really truly connected. Okay. I see people in the spiritual aspect. I see people in the religious aspect that aren't seeing any of this. They're not connected to their heart. There is false prophets. There is a false God. Okay. And it's been shoved down your throats for many, many, many years. So I'd say be very careful what you're worshiping. And then I have somebody asking me where I am from. I am from, I'm just from here. I'm nothing special. Weirdly enough, though, I had an awakening and brought about the ascension, but I was born in Colorado. I'm born and raised here. I'm a native, and I'm one of the very few that are actually left here as far as natives go. So I am in Colorado. I'm from Colorado, but my whole family was oddly enough born in California, but I wasn't. So me and my children were born right here. I don't want to stay here forever, though. I want to go. I want to go to Asheville. Do y'all know where that is? They got 230 waterfalls or something. That's where I want to be. So as soon as this shit happens, because where the waterways are is where I would stay away from personally. I'm thinking that I was really put here for a reason, because Colorado is one of the biggest, darkest places. There's a lot of underground tunnel here. There's a lot of child sex trafficking here as well. And there's also a huge Fort Carson. That's one of the hugest, largest government bases. So I truly believe that I was here for a reason to do this work. I had my awakening in Manitou Springs, Colorado. That was where I was drawn to. All of a sudden I moved there, connected with a tree, started meditating, went inward, and boom, my Kundalini awakening hit. And then all of a sudden I was doing healings I'd never known before. And then I started doing things to the earth I've never seen done before, including activating pyramids and things with Jesus. And it's all played out on this channel. And so that's a really cool thing. When you think about it, Manitou, Colorado is another ley line that they don't talk a lot about. I'm going to get you, Roger. I see all your questions going up. I like it. Normally, Roger, I'd make you do an exchange for these. So I'm going to tell you again that I want you to start your path to your heart space. I want you to ask what you need to do, and don't let things stop you. Don't let falsehood stop you, because I've done these before where I've answered your questions before, but I've never made you do an exchange and they're not being felt. Know what I'm saying? So just be careful, but I will answer your questions. But you got to promise me something, Roger, is that you're going to start working your way inward to the heart space and working your way to that co-creation. Okay? Because here's the thing about the ascension, you guys. What I have brought about, and I guarantee you this is what it is. And you don't have to believe me. I can prove everything I say over and over again. I say this a lot. I can prove it. Trust me. I can prove it. I do healings that nobody else does. I'm not afraid to do them live. I do them live all the time. I don't mind doing random messages live for people. I don't hide who I am and what I can do. And I post a lot of my workshops that I do on here for you guys. But the thing about the ascension is it's a great reset. Sweet. I love you, Roger. It's a great reset. Okay. What that means is every past life you've ever had will no longer exist. It doesn't matter if you ascend or not. It's all brought to this lifetime. Okay. You have to heal them, clear out the karma, clear out the shadow. And whether you choose to or not, because it can only be done through free will, because that's how God works, okay? God will never say, I'm going to force you. It's up to you. You don't have to heal. But whether you do or not, you will be reborn. So everything has to be wiped clean. And then you will either stay here or at least be able to return here. Like if some people do choose to pass on at this time, but still remain in the energy here. Okay, and they will return here, where others will go somewhere else and start all over again. And some people call that hell. God doesn't call it that. It's never called heaven and hell with God. Okay, you either choose light or you choose darkness. You choose God or you choose not God. That's what they call it. Okay, here's what God says about the ascension. Some will go, some will stay. Those are the ones that will ascend either in this lifetime or in the next. And then some will never know life this way. Okay? Understood? So let's say you make it through 8 of the 13 gates and then you choose not to go any further. Doesn't mean you may go where there's void of God. Okay. Some will go, they will pass on, but it doesn't mean that they're leaving the house of God necessarily. Some will stay. Those are the ones who are ascending fully. And then some will never know God this way, ever. Okay? That is your 3 classifications. But in each one of them, it's a reset. You will not have any more past lives. You will start all over. So you're either reborn here, because when I walked Gigi through the gates, when I went through the gates, I walked Jacinth through the gates, I walked Amy through the gates, your whole entire, I do the heart measurement. I told you guys this. I see your whole entire karmic contract and it's all cleared. It all gets wiped clear because you cleared it. Then I give you your key and I walk you through the gates. That's how it is. That's the ascension. So you're either reborn here or somewhere else. It's a reset. That's why they call it a reset. Okay. So if people truly knew that, do you think they would choose not to ascend? I don't think so. It's because they never get enough time to see clearly, unfortunately. And the DM does hold some shoulder on that because he didn't listen either. So I'm going to read some of Roger's questions. Roger's like, okay, let's do an exchange. Let's go. Well, then, Roger, buy Stepping Stones to Awakening. If you want a discount, I'll give you one. Tell me what you can afford and buy it. You want the link to that? I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to put it in there. The path to righteousness includes Stepping Stones to Awakening. I have it laid out specifically where it'll get you all the way through. All right. If you cannot afford it, tell me what you can afford. Okay. Stepping Stones through Awakening. I think I gave you the right one. Yeah. All right. Do that one, and then after that one, come back to me for healing your shadow and calling your power back. Those are the 3 you'll need. Lisa says, you'll be so glad you did it. That was so powerful. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're awake. It doesn't matter if you're not awake. It doesn't matter how awake you are. It's because I am the one who brought it about. It's pure awakening, okay? So you're not alone through it. Message me if it hits you like a ton of bricks. Let me read your comments now and your questions. So Roger says, oh, that's right. Okay. So Roger says the question goes back to when you have done a reading for me and something came through about the divine masculine. The following night I was meditating and midway through my meditation was hearing wolves, and not just one. I heard about 10 of them howling. It was the part where I was meditating in silence. Oh, I love this. And my second question, so that's a question? I'm like, wait, was that a question? What is the question in that one? The following night I was meditating, and midway through my meditation, I was hearing wolves, and not just one. I heard about 10 of them. So you want to know about the wolves and why you were healing wolves? Let me ask. Sorry, that's a release so I can connect. Oop, there we go again. All right, Roger. Here's your exchange. I'm going to ask her all your questions, and you got to do Stepping Stones to Awakening. We're going to get you on your highest path home, Roger. All right, the wolves. They're saying it means 3 things. Okay, the wolves absolutely represented 3 things. One of them, it's your spirit animal. It's your guide. Another one is because you are a divine masculine. Any masculine, though, connected to God's light is a divine masculine. In some way, shape, or form, right? Excuse me. There's a lot of releasing you need, Roger. Okay, so there is like that moon, the moon and the wolf, the howling at the moon is trying to release. He's releasing. He's trying to release and realign, release and realign, release and realign. Okay, that's what they're trying to tell you. That's what they're trying to tell you with the wolves. It's like, we're here. We're hearing you. You are connecting. That was a validation in that as well. Just Saint is here. Whoop, whoop. I'm like, oh my. Okay, he says, but my spirit animal is the falcon. How can that be? So here's the thing about spirit animals. We have more than just one. And I don't know who you told you it was the falcon. It's the wolf right now. Oh, so much so it's the wolf. So my main one is a black panther. But I've also had a blue jay and I've had a crow. Those have been a part of my whole entire journey. So animals on an awakening path, as spirits trying to nudge you, different animals will come for different reasons. Okay? So who wants to look up the meaning of the wolf totem animal for Roger and put it in the comments? You can absolutely look that up. I'm doing the live on my phone, so it's a little more difficult, and I'm looking at the comments on my computer because I accidentally set it up that way, and I don't know why. But crows have come to me on my path. Black panther comes at different times than the crows come, and then blue jays came at a different path. And then when I did a power upgrade on myself, I would puke up snakes energetically out of my solar plexus. So snakes can be another one as a power upgrade. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. So at a certain point in my journey, I had to go within because I was blocked in my solar plexus. And it turns out I had a snake in there and I puked it out. Just Saint can vouch for that. I've had a few snakes that I've puked up along my journey. Every time I do a power upgrade and call my power back, I would throw up a snake. And I think I threw up one for my DM too. Roger, you're so funny. He's like, well, that would explain why I've been liking the songs Werewolves of London and Blue Moon, huh? Yes. The falcon might have been in your energy for that day, but I don't think that's your main spirit animal, my friend. I see a wolf, and then I also see a tiger and a monkey. So you have 3 in there, but the main one is that wolf right now. The falcon might have been a message for that time frame. So you have to watch that. Never solidify in just one, because we are complex beings and animals come with different messages. And I talk about that in one of my courses, Communicating with Spirit. They deliver things through symbols and animals and different things that we connect with, because language it's not universal, and it was not always there. So this is the way God talks. Okay, this is the God language. And this is a lot of what I talk. Now people are going to go, what? Right? And so language is it was not always this. Okay? And this was the native language that they took. And that's what the Hopis would talk about. That's what Native Americans would talk about. How they would talk about Mount Shasta and how they were misusing language and it got taken away. And that's God's language. And this is what I've brought back. And that's why if you're getting healings from people who haven't had the upgrades and they're not aware of the ascension and they're not connecting, they're not healing you in God's light. So be very careful. Because I've cut them all off. And then I re-brought down Christ's light and reactivated it. You just have to have the DNA activations. All right. So let me go to your next question. Second question has to do with automatic writing, channel writing. I was channeling, and when I was putting that away and getting ready for dinner, something came through and hard. And what came through was call my name. And when that came through, I wrote it down and called out to God, Jesus Christ, and my guardian angel, Azrael. Okay, but you got to word these in questions. What is your question exactly? What I'm going to tell you right now is from the first aspect to that one. If you truly have watched the work that I've done, Roger, is I fixed the moon. My DM was the light of the moon. Horus, right? When I was Sekhmet and Horus time frame, and I was undoing the false ties to the moon and all of that kind of stuff, there's relevance here, okay? The DM not stepping forward actually did hurt anybody attached to the masculine energy because they didn't see clearly in time, and that is a detriment. But I've been trying to fix that detriment. So what I'm going to try to tell you right now is they are telling you loudly to go to your heart space. And that's what I've been telling you too. It's like clear the path to your heart space, okay? Now, Azrael is not your guardian angel. He is just an angel that is with you at that time. Azrael is an angel of death, which is also an angel of rebirth. And he comes around when we are beginning to die, or something is dying in our reality, either in our physical reality or in our spiritual selves. Okay, so your false self, different aspects of self, different aspects of ego. It's when we're having a hard time transitioning from that death so that we can be reborn. Because nothing truly dies, right? Even when my DM died, they took his soul, the little part of his soul, and put it into something else. We don't know what else. But his actual body died. His life as he knew it died. But his soul went into something else, and then my twin flame part went into my new DM. So that's kind of how spirit souls work. We don't really die. We transition. So you will be reborn here or reborn somewhere else. Do you know where you're going? You know what I'm saying? So what they're telling you is you need to find your way home. Okay? And that's exactly what I told you. Is there any coincidence there? No, because I channel from the highest possible messages because of who I am. They come right direct from source. That's why they call me a divine guide. So this is what they're telling you, Roger. They are showing you things. You're getting, you're connecting, you're hearing. It's just you question it. You go into the shadow and then you question it, and you try to analyze it in your head, and you can't do that. Okay? So when you go through stepping stones through awakening, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. You're gonna be like, oh my God. So then your next one, well, that would okay. It's the wolf. Yeah, so on the start of your journey, the falcon might have been guiding you for a certain reason. You can look these up. Do you ever look them up for their meanings, spiritual meanings of them? It's a message in that time frame, if anything. So I talk about how to communicate with spirit too in one of my courses, is that numbers are not just numbers. People, you can Google them, but they actually truly, it's a personal communication mechanism. So even if you Google it, it may not be 100% accurate for what they're trying to tell you. The more you learn to co-create, to communicate with spirit, to communicate with your heart space, the more you'll tend to decipher the message specific for you. I was like, what does Jacinth mean? I read your last one. I'm like, that was confusing. So Jacinth actually says, yes, she's personally witnessed with me snakes in 2 situations coming through. Jacinth, you guys, is another one that I walked through the gates. For Roger, she's quickly pulled up on Google the wolf. Okay, so Roger, Jacinth pulled up the wolf as a spirit animal. It mentions that the wolf symbolized an intriguing mix of power, loyalty, guardianship, teamwork, and wildness. Okay? But what the wolf is trying to tell you is power. I would focus more on the power aspect and truly understanding where your power is lying, because you're giving it away. You're giving your power away. Okay? So check that. They want you to take your power back. That's what the wolf is trying to tell you. Yeah, so that's exactly my point, Roger. So if that part doesn't resonate, let it go. It's not for you. So spirit connects, we decipher message on a general basis level. So I can Google all these messages, okay? This is what I teach in my course. I know Gigi's about to have this course too. But in the course that I teach you how to communicate with spirit, is we can Google these till we're blue in the face, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're trying to tell you, okay? When I mastered that communication in this lifetime with spirit is when I united with my twin flame. They would send me numbers, but I couldn't Google them. It was like, hey, this is coming. Hey, pay attention to this. And I would just hear it. So I would see the message, but I was also hearing it. So it can be a little bit different than what you might Google. If you do Google meanings, take what resonates with you and let the rest go. If none of it resonates with you, you need to consider what you're thinking about, what you're hearing, what's going on in your reality, okay? They do have a baseline meaning, and there's usually astrology placed, but they fluctuate, and they're individual also. And this is where we get a little lost. And this is how people fall prey to shadow messages rather than those of God. And that's why it's super important that our heart is open for communication. Okay? So Roger, Your job is to take your power back because you're giving it away into the wrong thing. You are a divine masculine. You are supposed to be lined up with God, and you are supposed to be on your path home. That is your message. It's right there in front of you, right? Say my name, Jesus Christ, right? Like, you know, my path unfolded in real time on this channel. But there are times where you would shun it, and you have to ask yourself why. Is it because you want to fall into the false church, or you feel guilty for that? Don't feel guilty for that. Your mom is saying, no, 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 no. Follow your heart, my boy. Follow your heart. Okay? That's really, she just really like, that's real. Okay? So that's the thing is, when I did Mount Shasta and I said you need to purge that energy because it was not of God, when it falls, those are attached to it will fall. So I think this is truly God saying, warning, 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 detach from the false God. Detach from anything that's not in your true heart. Not up here, not in ego, not in guilt, not in fear, not in jealousy, not in anger. None of that is of God, okay? And if we're there, we can't hear the messages. Okay, does that make sense? That's why my first thing I told you is I would love for you to do this exchange, and I would love for you to do stepping stones to awakening. Then you need to call your power back, and then you need to fight the shadow. Because the church is about to fall. The false god is about to be exposed on a whole big level. People aren't quite prepared for. I think they are, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like, some people are really going to get hit hard with that. And so here's also the thing is, if you're being called to do this, that means you're going to help people do the same thing. How do we do that? By doing it for you. Okay? It's an internal journey, but it doesn't mean you're not helping people. So the way we help people is healing ourselves, because we're all connected. That's that white flame in the heart. It's all of God. That's where God is. Home is where the heart is. And when I called everybody home, it was through the heart space and through the portal of time, which was the Sphinx. I know it's a lot, but that's real. So it's about letting go of all that we're not. Okay? And God is in your heart. You don't have to go to church to have God. But I would also say be very careful, because the church is about to fall. There's a false god deeply ingrained in that. And that's why the Bibles that you read, avoid all the King James versions, avoid anything outside of the Jerusalem version or the Dead Sea Scrolls. You can pick apart the Bible for the true parts, but how do you know what's true and what's not, right? Like, it's really hard to decipher. And then it creates fear, and it's so contradicting. Like, oh, the true Bible scholars who see that and they know the contradictions. There's one that I was pointing out one time where he's like, anything that is contradictory, I won't repeat. He's like, but when it resonates across every depiction of the Bible, then he will repeat it for you. And I'm like, bingo, people are connected. Can I get an amen? That's the true one. Okay. The one that doesn't contradict, the one that doesn't change per version that you purchase, those are the more accurate depictions of it. But the return of Christ, the ascension is the return of Christ. That's why they call it the apocalypse. That's why they call it the rapture. It's because what I did was eliminate any of that, and it will rise to fall. So I want you to watch those videos. I did one recently where I showed you guys my very first workshop, and I said part of what I did was expose everything. So it has to rise so that we can see it, and then it will all fall. Okay? Because then it rises out of our consciousness, and we can either choose to fall with it or not. And then I also said, united we stand, and united they fall. So I feel like Roger, it's going to get louder and louder until you listen to it. Are you hearing ringing in your ears? Like really loud? Like it's something's trying to like blow horn ya. Get on the right path, Roger. So there's no coincidences to you being blocked from going to church today and coming here. The message that I got was abundance and changes are coming into my life in different ways. But at the end, the last part of the message was I was not aligned. That's exactly what I said. Lisa says, I have tons lately. Yep. Those are energies. It's not just tinnitus. Yep. Uh-huh. So usually when Spirit's trying to get your attention, that's one of the many ways they'll do it. You'll hear ringing in your ears. And sometimes when I hear that ringing, I'll be like, oh, what's the message? And I'll actually get a being come through and give me a message. Now, you got to be a really pure channel for that, right? Hello, hello. The more pure of a channel you are, the more you'll be able to clearly be able to tap into those. And Lisa, you've been going through my workshop, so you're rising in vibration, and so you're hearing different vibrations. Okay, that's a part of that too. It's like we'll start to hear different frequencies. They give us messages that way, or if we're not listening, they will like ring really loudly in our ear. They'll be like, listen. Oh. But nothing against free will, right? So Oksana asks what my name is. Well, Spirit calls me Juniper Blue Mystique, but my real name is Brianna. Yeah, the tones are very different. So as you become a clearer channel and you really start focusing that compass inward only, when those tones come in, start asking them who they are. Start trying to get messages. And as you really, truly become that clear channel, they will come through. So the more we learn to hone in, the more we raise our vibration, and the more we become a clear channel, you can get so many awesome messages. And you can take it deeper and deeper and deeper every time. Never leave it at baseline. That's part of what I teach too. Yep. So Roger, I'm going to tell you right now, the day that you told me you couldn't come here because you had to go to church, it kicked me in my solar plexus. That was like a red flag, okay? Because the only church should be the true God, all right? Now, if I am truly the one who brought about the ascension, Roger, you've watched my whole entire thing unfold. You've watched the Hopi prophecy play out in front of me, remember? You're the one who told me that first, I think. And it came up in my workshops, and you're like, this is the blue Hopi prophecy or whatever. And I couldn't watch it. So with that, where else do you need to be? How are you not already with God? You see what I'm saying? Why do you need to travel to some building with these people you don't know? And you don't know where their heart is. You don't know if they're truly connected all the way or not. The one you should be trusting is you, right? So Oksana wants to know how old I am. Guess how old I am. I don't know. It's a little personal question. I'm not a young spring chicken. I wish I was, but I'm not. I don't know. Take a guess at that. I'll tell you if you're close or not. I'm old school soul. Oh, I love that. She thinks this person, I don't know. I'm sorry. They think I'm 35. I will take that. I'm a little older than that, actually. Slightly older than that. I'm less than 45, though. We'll just put it there. I'm older than 35, but less than 45. But that's a compliment. I really appreciate that very, very, very much. I will take that to my heart. I'm less than that, too. I just turned 42, actually. So I have a 21-year-old son, and then a 15-year-old, and then an 11-year-old as well. So yeah, old soul though, for sure, right? So, Roger, I think you know the answers. Do that course. Okay, Roger? And again, if it's too expensive for you, which I feel like it's not, but if it is, let me know. Money shouldn't stop you. That's a vice, and that's not of God. Money is being purified. There's so many people going, oh my gosh, money is going to go away. No, it's not. The only parts of money that are going to go away are the parts that need to be purified. So anybody who's used it for power, for greed, for, click the link. I just put it on there, silly goosey. If it's too much, I can give you a coupon. But anything that's tied to money that's dark will fall. Okay, so if you carry your money through Bank of America, through Wells Fargo, those are definitely ones that are going to fall. I actually switched from Chase recently, and I didn't think that I was going to have to, but I was nudged to. So that might be one that's also going to fall. So there are different institutions that the ones that they keep saying loudly, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac related and all of that kind of stuff. Anything that is on the dark side will fall, but not everything will. Okay, so if you are in the light, if you're manifesting from a place of a pure heart space, if your intentions are pure, call in money. There's nothing stopping you. And don't be afraid to invest in yourself, or, you know what I mean? Or move. If you feel the nudge to move, move. You know what I'm saying? Because shit's going to get real. If you haven't noticed, if you watch the workshops I did, part of what I did was, especially when I returned the God portal and I opened it up and the gods came out, we literally told the water to move. Okay? Water is going to move. And I wish Amy was here. She'll remember this one. I don't know if Just Say It does or Gigi, but they also lightning struck the White House that day, and it happened in real time. But I have told several times for water to move. It's going to reclaim its space. So where some water is, it's going to dry up and it's going to reclaim in some areas, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now here's the thing about the Nile though. When I did the Nile, I would assume that's going to really happen because everything I've done is really happening. But so that might even actually turn blood dry. That would be weird though, right? Like I can't even imagine seeing it actually turn blood and drying out, but it might. And that feeds Egypt. So when I started clearing the collective shadow 3 years ago is when the Euphrates River really started drying up. Okay. And I went into some tunnels. Everything has to do with tunnels on this earth. And I don't know. Well, that's not fair, Oksana. They're like, guess how old I am? I don't have an image of you. That's not fair at all. So no. And I'm not going in your energy. No, I'm not going to guess. You can tell me though. There's no picture. There's no nothing. I'm not in your energy, so I won't guess how old you are. I'd say 22. I don't know. But you guys, shit's about to get real, and it's super important to focus inward because you've been called home. Whether you know it or not, I've already called everybody home. God gave me this scroll. It was in my last workshop. I think it was Fiji part 2, right? Was it Fiji part 2? And that was when I opened up the portal of gods. Yes, that was the one. And they had told me we only had 2 years left. And then I read a scroll by and I remember calling everybody home. Absolutely. Absolutely, I can. I said that I would. Let me know what you can afford, but be honest. And I will give you a coupon for that. Okay. Roger, I think you're on Messenger. I don't like using Messenger, but I will this time for you. So right after I get off the live, I will send that over to you. Okay. But you got to tell me what you can do, and I will fix the price for you for that. That does not give everybody free reign to use Messenger. Please don't. Okay. I don't like it when people send me a lot of videos and try to message me on Messenger, because this is the moment I give them that option, it blows up. But Roger, we will communicate for that on Messenger. Okay, so Gigi says, I have been doing my internal journey and I speak about some things to my husband, and now he sees things in a different way than he did before. Exactly. So that's my point. That's a beautiful point right there, Gigi. Because when Gigi started my journey, he actually didn't like it. Okay, I remember there was one of my Hertz musics that he did not like at all. And I said, that's because it's exercising the demons. Okay, the music that I do, I have a Hertz music channel. It's very real. I channel it from spirit. Okay, so they're meant to heal you. And some of them will invoke irritation for a reason. Okay, and that was happening. She was like very like internal on her journey. Okay, But once you heal you to a certain degree, and yes, Lisa, this is what I keep telling you, is never worry about anybody else around you. You need to go inward. You need to sometimes separate from those energies because they're going to fuck you up. Okay. And that's a nice way to say it, let me tell you. Because the shadow works through that way. The shadow works through our ego. The shadow works through our fears and through our heart. Okay. So what Gigi said is, you know, she continued her journey. And even when things would try to sway her, because when you go through my gates, they will. My gates are the gates created through the one. They're very real. And the moment you walk through one of them, the shadow will try to take you out in any shape or form. And it's only through the ways that you allow it to, okay? Because anything can only mess you up through free will. So it happens to you and through you, but you have to allow it. The same thing, you can choose no, okay? And the ones that choose no are what people are calling the chosen ones. They're not really chosen. It's, do you choose God? Period. And now that she's done it, she's gone so far. She's changed so much. Her vibration has changed and risen and healed. And now he's noticing, okay? Because he's starting to change his too. So that's how we help others heal. Okay, it's not this way. It's not like, oh my God, the world's going to end. You need to do this. Their ego is going to kick in and tell you you're fucking nuts and go to a nut house. Okay, see what I mean? Like, I'm the one who brought it about and I'm saying cuss words. I think we need to let go of the fact that we all need to be perfect. I think we need to let go of the fact that we need to worry about others, because the only way that you can worry about others is truly healing and loving you. The moment you do that, you give other people permission to do that too. Okay? But the moment you're like, well, I don't want to leave these people and I don't want to do this and I don't want them to judge me and I don't want them to hate me, that's your ego. That's not of God. Does that mean that God doesn't want us to ever be around people? No, that would be your ego as well telling you that. Okay? But it has to be an internal journey. Okay, so what you're going through, what you're dealing with has to be kept. You need to hold on to that. You need to protect it. You need to love it. You need to heal it. And you need to go where those that can help you, right? Like, just like I tell Just Saint graduated how long ago? And I'm still like, message me if you need help. Okay. She graduated my academy, like, gosh, a while ago. And I still am there. Because not everybody can understand it. It's not something that we can go to everybody and go, hey, this is happening to me. I just did this workshop with this person. They're going to go, you're crazy. And they're going to talk you out of it. Because it's either there, it's the shadow. Okay? But the moment you choose to bypass that and you do your journey and you heal and you change. And if they're like, hey, let's go to a concert, you can be like, Spirit, should I go? You know, put a bubble of protection and just go have fun. But you don't have to talk about your journey. That's something you should hold sacred because it's an internal journey. And then when you're like, all right, God, I want to help somebody. Show me who I can help if you're ready to do that, right? And then somebody will go all of a sudden out of the blue, they'll be like, hey, I just feel like I need to ask you something and I don't know why. And it can be a stranger from Timbuktu. Okay. That's how spirit works. That's how God works. So when I say it's an internal journey, your compass needs to be pointed inward and you need to isolate. That's not me saying never be around people. You know what I mean? So yeah, and Lisa's like, yes, I hear that more and more. Exactly. That's because, again, you're looking for that external validation. And we can't do that because people will try to take you down. Because that's how the shadow works. Misery loves company. And unless people get out of the funk, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know. So until you start to raise your vibration and then the vibration around you changes and then they're like, huh, this kind of feels good. I'm going to do this too. You know what I'm saying? It's a vibrational thing. Same thing with manifesting. Do you ever see those people who are like, ooh, tell me what you're manifesting so we can put some good energy to it? Don't do it. Run, run, and run. Run. Do not ever tell people what you're manifesting. You can tell them afterwards. Okay? Because they may have jealousy in there they didn't even know. Or who the frick knows? We don't know. Energies are so complex. And the moment you invite outside energies into something, it's going to muck it up. And then you can't see clearly. And it throws a wrench into your manifesting. And you're like, what the hell? And you didn't realize that Jill over here doesn't want you to be happy, even though they say on the outside that they do. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole other ball game. So avoid those that are like, hey, what are you manifesting right now? Tell me and we'll do it together. That's a warning. Somebody I knew, I had my awakening, and then I was nudged to do this, like this healing thing. And so I did it, and I went into this lady that does an angel academy. Oh, in the fine print on her Facebook pages, she will tell you, hey, what ideas do you have? What creations are you coming up with? I'll let you do a video on my thing. And then in the fine print, she says, everything you do on mine now is my property. Watch what you do. Watch what you put out there. Okay? You know what I'm saying? You got to watch that. Jacinth says, I graduated from her academy in June of last year, yet Brianna has continued to support me and guide me when I've needed her the most. So grateful. And that's right. And the reason I do that is because we need each other. It's like I said on my live yesterday, which I know, it's like, I said it at the end. It's like, we need each other. Just because we may have gotten through the gates doesn't mean we should leave each other now. You know what I'm saying? We need the ones who can truly see clearly, that have healed, because there's a lot that still have not. And those are the ones that we can trust to at least come from a space of non-judgment and of not ego, because I know she's healed it. She knows I healed it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the most important part. And that's what they mean by isolation. That's why certain people will go through an awakening and they will all of a sudden find themselves isolated and secluded. And it's because maybe the energies around you are more dangerous than you know. Okay? Anything will try to get in to sway you. It is a battle for your soul. Some will go, some will stay, and some will never know life this way. That means they will be cut off from life forever, from God, or they were never a part of it at all. Some people here, that's what they call zombies. Did you guys know that? This is really strange because this came up in my other job the other day. Everybody started talking about zombies, and I'm like, you do know that on the government website, they actually have classifications of zombies. They name them. The V makes you one. You know why? Because it cuts you off from God. How does it do that? It fucks with your DNA. Part of what I did was bring down DNA with the Christ light. When you do my path to righteousness, I take you through healing certain things, I awaken you, and then you start going through the gates. Once you go through the gates, it's your job to choose the light over the darkness, okay? But then after you do that, you clear your karma, you call your power back, then you get your DNA activations. They're not just given to you. That's why they call it a rite of passage. That's why they call them the chosen ones. Now remember, I don't like that term. Okay? Hello, everybody. I see the new faces. I love it. So, you see what I'm saying? That's why they call them the chosen ones, and it's just because they keep choosing God. So, it's your choice, okay? And everything will try to stop you. So before you awaken, your compass is external. It's pointing outwards. That's why you're not awakened. Do not come here saying pyramid scheme in the making. If you haven't watched my videos, I would be very careful in bringing judgment here, okay? Much love to you, but you don't realize what you're doing with doing that. When I say I activated pyramids, that's very real. Okay? There's no pyramid scheme here. Nothing but love here, so we can take judgment somewhere else. Unless you're talking about something I was talking about, no. You're in the wrong place. Straight up, you cannot bring judgments to somebody who brought about the ascension. Clearly, if you're in judgment and you're making assumptions, I would find your way to God, okay? That's not in a pure heart, okay? Judgments are not of God. There is no pyramid scheme here. I've almost died on my journey 3 times, and the people who do the work that I do work very hard through it. And there's no such thing as a pyramid scheme here. So if I'm misreading that, My apologies. But when you bring judgment, that's why judgment can't go through the gates. That's why those who are in judgment can't ascend. Okay? And you're clearly not in your power if you can't see that. When you go through these portals, you must call your power back. We are in the karmic timeline. We have 2 years left on this planet. And I don't care if you believe me or not. You can go do your thing and be a part of what's being eliminated, or go heal on your own, go do it on your own, witness it on your own. I don't care. You don't have to believe me. Everything I've done has been posted for you guys to see. It's been recorded and witnessed. Just saying, Gigi have watched me awaken on my whole entire thing. Okay, it was part of my awakening. I didn't create this. I couldn't make it up if I tried. It's all biblical. And what I did was bring about the book of Revelations. Okay. Yeah, unusual vibes joined today for sure. I know, right? Like some I've never seen before. I love new people, but I will warn you right away, if you bring judgment to the house of God, I'm going to push you out. Okay? Because essentially you're cutting yourself off from God. Because you don't know who I am. I'm not normal. It's not my ego. Okay? It's very real. And we are in the end times. This is what they call the end of ways. And those are the ways they're talking. There are pyramid schemes out there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of bullshit out there. There's false prophets all over. There is. And they are in the church. They are in a position of what I do. Right? Roger's like, strange vibes indeed. I know, right? At the same time, though, you guys, we welcome everybody. Because what is our job? It's to heal the shadow. Were we all in the shadow at one point? Abso-freaking-lutely. We start out in the shadow. I was in my own shadow, right? And I kept choosing out of it. I'm like, no way. And then when you start to really feel love and you don't want to suffer anymore, then you're just done with it. And so, no judgment either way, but definitely don't bring judgment here, okay? If you want to bring judgment here and you don't want to watch my videos for the proof of what I say, because I actually upload the work that I do, I've uploaded my whole entire path of bringing about the ascension. Do the work. If you're confused about it and you're questioning who I am, that's great, because at least you're questioning it. And I can prove everything I'm saying to you, and most of it is actually on this channel. But your job is to go watch the proof. If you choose to go in judgment and not watch it, that's on you. But you can feel free to leave. You know what I'm saying? Because those are energies that bring others down too, and we don't want them. But if you're here to go, you know, this is strange. Maybe you are weird, but if she says there's proof, I'm going to at least watch a video. And then keep those opinions to yourself, and then we'll get you through it. That's great. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Because we all start out in the shadow. We all start out from that veil of confusion where we can't see. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you can't sometimes see clearly. My mom said that to me too. She's like, her boyfriend tried to hurt me really bad recently, and I was just like, oh Mom, I just wish you would love yourself so that you could see, you know. And she's the one that I gave my whole path, my righteous path home to. I handed it to her, and I'm like, here Mom, you know, she was a heroin addict. Okay, you guys don't know my mom. She was very abusive growing up. No love there really. I mean, she loved me, but from her wounded self. Right? And so I tried to give her this whole thing. She sees some of the stuff I've done. She's asked some questions, and I thought, hey, she's rising into it. She wants to heal. And so I gave it to her. And at one point, you know how at one point God didn't want me to work, right? Or it was having a really hard time when the twin flame journey was coming in. And she was like, well, he wants to help you pay your rent. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, that's a little odd. And trust me, I've never been without paying my rent. So I've been lucky through the grace of God always. That's what I'm saying. You can call in money, manifest, it's very real. But out of the blue, I didn't ask her. She was like, he wants to help you. And then he called me up, and weeks went by, and I was counting on that, and I got an eviction notice, and I'm like, so what's going on? Should I just not count on this anymore? That's cool. You know, I just want to let it go. He's like, no. And then the next day, he's like, well, you hurt your mom. So it was basically, I'm going to hurt you. And I was like, oh, and I told my mom, and my mom was like, but I don't want to be alone. And I'm like, Mom, like, we have to be careful who we're with. We have to be very careful at this time. You know, do this healing so that she could see clearly. And then he broke his ankle like so bad, twice in like 1 week. And I was like, ooh, karma's a bitch. And she goes, oh, don't send anything negative his way. And I'm like, I can't do that. I was like, clearly you don't know who I am. I was like, watch the work that I do. If you're truly in God, there is none of that there. I was like, no. I was like, no. I was like, Mom, just do the healing so that you can see where the darkness truly lies, because that's the false veil, okay? You've been praising to a false God, and, you know, you can go ahead and keep praying to a false God if you choose to, but it's about to that's the rapture. It's about to be wiped off of this planet. So Lisa says, keep all disrespect away. Bree is the real deal. I appreciate her so very much, and I'm grateful for the work she has done for each and every one of us. And that's true. But here's the thing, you guys, is if they want to bring negative away, and I bark at them a little bit, and they stay around, and they watch the videos, I love you, right? Like, it's okay if you're in the veil, and you can't see clearly, but I will warn you, is if you bring judgment here, it's going to bite you. It doesn't bite me because I know who I am and I've already made it through the gates. You know what I'm saying? But it will bite you. So be very careful with that, because let's just say this. If you go to the true God and you're like, ha ha ha, you're so fake, and you know what I mean? And you shun it and you mock it, it kind of cuts you off from that light deeper and deeper every time. And that is where I'm like, take that energy, bye-bye, okay? Because it will hurt you. Because number one, you don't know who I am. I am not like everybody else on YouTube, and I know everybody will say that, and it's not my ego, it's true. And that was a harsh reality for me to understand, okay? Meaning that as the master healer that I am, as the one who brought about the ascension, if you bring shade where shade shouldn't be, you cut yourself off from God. Okay, period. That's what judgment is. Judgment is not of God. Fear is not of God. Assumptions are part of ego. And they make an ass out of you, not me. Okay. But when you start to watch the work that I did, you start to awaken, and then you start to go, oh shit, you know, this shit might be real. And then you start to realize, oh my gosh, we are in the apocalypse. Jesus is very real. The return of Christ is what the ascension is. And I'm the one who brought it about. And that's not fake. I can prove it. Watch my channel. It's all on here. Oh, Lisa's like, I don't like people mocking you in this journey. And trust me, it hurts, but it's happened since day one. I remember when I had my awakening, I went through that academy and I had so many people putting me down. I could do healings and nobody could do, and they were like all like throwing shade at me for it. And I didn't understand what's happening, dude. I was like, look, I don't understand this. I don't know why I can see your insides and know that you need kidney this and that or the other. And I don't know why this is. And I was like, what's happening to me? Aw, thank you, Roger. Roger's like, Bree, you are the real McCoy. Thank you. I don't know who Brett is, but they're like, what's happening? She seems like a lovely person. Why would people mock her? I don't know that they were mocking, but they came with a comment that just was totally out of left field, talking about a pyramid scheme or something. And it didn't align with what was happening. So that's kind of, I was like, nah, that's the wrong energy to bring around here. Because I've seen it happen so many times, is when you go through what I brought about, right? The shadow does creep in, and the shadow works through judgments and things like that. And those are not of God. God is all about unconditional love. Okay. And so if you don't understand something, does that mean people aren't wrong? No, absolutely. There's fake people out there, but I still won't be on their channel going, oh, you're a liar. Oh, you suck. Or, oh, this and that and the other. Let them go. Right. Like, there is a difference there. You can always tell who's in the light and who's not. It's like those ones that go to people's pages and they have to put them down because they don't understand, or maybe they are fake, right? There's not good people out there. I get that. But I'm still not going to go to their page and be like, you suck, get off here. Why? Right? And if you can't take the time to go, well, some of the stuff she's talking about is real. Maybe I'll do some research and just watch these things. That's all you have to do. I post all the work that I did, and it was my own awakening journey. Okay. It started with a Kundalini awakening in 2019. Then all of a sudden, I was seeing things and doing things I'd never heard before. I was getting messages from God. And all of this crazy stuff started happening to me. Then I was doing healings, just happening. It's not that I had to learn them. It's like all of a sudden I could look at somebody, they would be like on a Facebook thing going, I need help. And I was like, something told me tune in. So I was like, and I could see their insides. And I was like, oh, you need this and that. Your kidneys are in pain. You've got this kidney infection, blah, blah, blah. And then I just posted everything I got. And they were like, how the frick did you know that? I'm like, I don't know. And not only was I reading it, I could heal it. Now, if you read about what Jesus is, this should already be sparking some red flags if you know anything about his capabilities. Okay. So then from there, I felt I would go into meditation and I was like traveling. I can go outside my body and I could see these things. And one time I did go to the White House, and another time I went to, where did I go? Like Ecuador or somewhere. And I raised the vibration there. Spirit would just say, raise the vibration. So I'd like draw light through it and raise the vibration. Then all of a sudden I sat on Saturn and I rose Atlantis, and Hermes was there. And I'm like, who's Hermes? I didn't know. This was my awakening. You guys, this is how it started. It blew my freaking mind. I didn't know it was happening. And I was like asking people, I'm like, oh my God, who's Hermes? And I would do research on it. I was like, oh, he's a god. And he handed me like this gold belt and he had like these gold wings on his shoes. And I'm like, what the heck is happening to me? And I was sitting on the rings of Saturn and I lassoed Atlantis, had to clear my own contract and watch myself die there. And I was like in a panic. I'm like, what is happening to me? And this one happened during a healing exchange with somebody named Pamela, who was in that academy. And then another person painted that painting for me. And before it all happened, and I'm like, what is this happening? So there's proof upon witnesses to my journey. It's not a joke. And then I was doing individual healings and I was actually seeing cancers, and not only that, healing them. Okay. My friend of mine was like, hey, my mom got sent home terminal. She was in her 70s. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like these things are just happening to me. What? And she's like, she has a heart machine and it shut down, and they don't want to fix it because the surgery alone will kill her. And I was like, Pamela, this is a lot of pressure. Like, what if I can't do anything? You know what I mean? Because I'd never done this before. I didn't have a book. I had nobody that could explain what was happening to me. I was like, all right, let me try. And I do it through light. I'm a master healer. And so I use light, but it's my light. It's God's light. It's the earth light. And I can travel outside of my body and things. And she had told the doctor, well, I have a friend. I want to see if can fix this. And so the doctor, and this was in, where is she? Netherlands. Her name's Pamela. She's a real person. And I met her in that academy. Okay. And this was her mom needing this healing. And I was so nervous. I was like shaking in my boots. And I was like, okay, I can do this. But the thing was, is they sent her home to die because they couldn't do surgery to fix the machine. She had some heart machine in there. And Pamela told the doctor about me. And so even the doctor was aware that I was going to try to do this. Now you want to talk about pressure. Like I was scared. I was like, what if I can't do anything? I don't understand what's happening and nobody does. And so I just did it. And it took me 3 healings, and she was like in her 20s again. She lived. I started the machine back up. Her heart was great. She started like reversing and aging. She was out of her hospital bed. Her wounds started healing. The first time I went in, I saw the machine, and it had like this tissue overgrowth on it, and the mechanism was blocked. That's what I saw. And so I like removed the tissue and I fixed the machine, and then it was like starting to coincide with her heartbeat. And I'm like, whew. And it took me 3 healings. It wasn't just one. But by the 3rd healing we did, because she would call me in the middle of the night because she didn't want her mom to die. She was not in a good place. And I was like scared. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I had no expectations. My expectation was I'm not going to be able to save her. Oh, I love it. Sweet, you guys. I know this is like but it's a relevant story. This is what was happening to me. Okay. And so lo and behold, long story short, she was in her hospital bed in her living room because she couldn't make it up her stairs. After the third healing, she started again sleeping. Her wounds started healing. She was out of her hospital bed. They caught her walking up the stairs. And then like a week later, she was driving to her friend's house. So she was sleeping back in her bed. She was driving. My intention was that she was like she was 20 again. And so it worked. I somehow fixed the machine. So these weird things were happening to me. Then from there, I cleared Mount Shasta in 2020, 11/11 of 2020. Everything is biblical and the dates were all purposeful. I sat on Saturn at the point where it was like closest to the earth as well. So everything I did was happening to me and through me. I didn't ask for it. I didn't know it was coming. These things would just happen. And the thing I was doing was following the nudges and going within my internal compass. Okay. And then protecting my energies because a lot of people tried to stop me. I love that. So then after I cleared Mount Shasta, I was taken to Fiji and I started activating pyramids. Okay. Then I started activating more pyramids and more pyramids. The pyramids I activated were in Fiji, one underwater, Botswana, Machu Picchu, Brazil, Myanmar, Thailand, Bolivia. They're all over and they're all on this page for you to watch. And Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Congo, Mount Kilimanjaro, British Columbia, and each time I do it, something happens to the earth. Okay. It's all being scientifically proven now too. So you just have to watch my videos and pay attention to what's happened and what I've done. Okay. Now, Roger, if you want to, I will message you in Messenger. Let me know what you can afford for that, and I will give you a coupon for it. Okay. Now, Brad asks, can you please explain to me how to get rid of the bad spirits? Oh, I don't know if I can explain it to you like that easily. They follow me around, and I also get visions of the past and future. So, Brad, that's actually very relevant. So part of the ascension is our whole entire reality is kind of combined into one. So I find that very relevant for you. Now you're actually seeing the shadow pieces, and I can tell you how to heal it. I have courses on that. I do healings on that. It's a little bit more complicated than just telling you, but keep raising your vibration because they don't match. Okay. And anytime it tries to take over, don't let it. It's free will based. Okay, so I can tell you that. Hello from Russia. That's awesome. I love that. Hello, Russia. Okay, so I know it's been a long live. I'm so glad you guys have been here. I really, truly am. And I love the wide array of people that came on today. Even if they weren't kind of seeing in the light, maybe they gained something. You never know, right? Because we all start out in the shadow. It's our job to get out of it. I love that. I'm in Colorado, so that's where I am. We've got people from all over. I know Justine is in Canada, so there's people all over, so I love that. Welcome, welcome. That's the great thing about YouTube, isn't it? That's how I know it won't be taken away either. Some of them will. So, do you guys have any more questions before we head on out today? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I can't see your face, but I'm pretty sure you're beautiful too, no matter who you are. I could feel your energy. So thank you. And Brett, I hope that helped answer your question if you're still here. All right. Well, on that note, Roger, check Messenger. I really do hope you do that though, because you've been watching me for a long time, and I feel like it's time to get your path home. Okay? I feel like that's what's happening. Awaken, call your power back, and heal your shadow. Okay? That is the three main components that we need to have going through the ascension. We need to be awakened. We need to call our power back through each portal and heal our shadow, so that we can understand it, so that we can see it clearly. Like Brett is kind of talking about how they were seeing the shadow. That's what that is. The shadow is any darkness. It's anything that is not of God. It's just void of light, right? And so some people call it evil. Some people call it darkness. That's what happened to Archangel Samael when he fell from God. He got cut off from the light. That's the difference. Aw, well, thank you. Aw. Well, you're typing your English very well. And I'm glad you found me. I don't know how much of my videos you can understand, but feel free to check them out. You guys, I have an Ascension playlist that shows every bit of the Ascension that I brought about. Okay? Yes, Roger, you do. That's exactly what you need. If you're going to do anything from me, anything at all, I would recommend those 3 courses. Okay? You don't have to do the entire path if you don't want to. I would recommend those. Those are tools to keep in your tool belt. Plus, I heal it for you. You're so welcome, Gigi. So you guys, the most important things about this video is, first of all, I welcome anybody from all over the world. I love that we have new people here. Hi, Maxim. Yes, I love that we have new people here. Just keep your judgment out, okay? And if I spark it in you, let's heal it. Right? Isabel says, who is here from Canada? Jacinth was. I don't know if she's still here. She's from Canada. Whatever I spark in you that is not of God, let's use that to heal it. But don't go anywhere and don't throw it at me, okay? Don't throw it at anybody. That's what we're here to do. Yep. Jacinth is Canadian. I love that. So cool. Roger says, well, hello, my Russian friend. Welcome to the heart space. I love that. This is so cool, you guys. I love this. So Spirit told me people from all over the world were going to find me. And that's okay. We want that. But if it sparks judgment in you, just don't throw it out. Let us heal it. Because we all start out in the shadow. And the ascension is the rapture of that, right? It's not of God. But I encourage you to check me out because I'm not normal, okay? Everything I've done is ascension-based, and you can actually see it all unfold on this channel. And that's the baseline of what I've done and who I am. I am an ascension master, master healer, and divine guide. That is the easiest way to say who I am, okay? But I am the one who brought about the ascension. And that is all on this channel, and I can prove it over and over again. And it's a beautiful thing. So let's heal, because the more we can get to heal, the more that we get to ascend, right? And the more that beautiful people come from all over with beautiful comments and love to share, because that's what it's all about, okay? So anything outside of that, let's just heal it. Don't spread it, all right? But I wouldn't shun anybody unless I had to. Okay, I've healed my shadow completely. It doesn't trigger me anymore. All right. So much love to all of you. Roger, look out for Messenger. We're going to get you on your path home. I love this so much. And just be mindful for where God truly is. Okay. Love to all of you. You guys, my next workshop is coming up where we get to activate the dormant mind. I'm so happy. So I posted that on Facebook. It is time. So when I do the full moon workshop in Patreon, we're aligning new planets because remember the planetary system that I took us into 7D, we're expanding. So there's going to be new planets. We got 3 new planets making their way in. So I'm really happy. So we will combine that one in Patreon with the full moon workshop, I think on the 29th when I close out that portal. And then I think on the 24th, I have it set up for this one is we have to upgrade our thyroid, our pineal gland, our pituitary gland, everything, our neurological system, but then also start activating the dormant mind. Okay? I'm so excited. That's a big thing. When I start doing that, it's really going to be a wave of karmic kickback. Like it's going to kick out energies that really don't belong here. So if you found me now, there's a reason. If you think I'm a pyramid scheme, hold that thought, retract it, do your research on who I am and what I do, and let's get healing because time is ticking to the end, my friends. Yay! Yes. Oh, sunshine. You're right where you're supposed to be. Just don't let the shadow take over. You're doing great. Don't worry. All right? Oh, yeah, that's your thyroid. I forgot about that. Yeah. No, mine needs it too, so that's perfect. Yes, that's what you're talking about. Yes. It's a thyroid upgrade. So we have to, 7D, it's like evolution. Jacinth says, much love to everyone. 7D, we're evolving. We're not just ascending. So that's what the DNA activations are about, but there's even more. I know, I can't wait either. I'm so excited. So thank you guys for being here. I love you lots. And maybe, just maybe on the next one, we'll do some free ascension messages or something, okay? This was actually a really good live. I'm so happy we had new energies here. That makes me really happy. If it sparks the shadow, because I will do that. I'm a master healer and I brought it about, the ascension. So if you come here and I spark a shadow, let's just heal it. But please don't spread it, okay? So much love to all of you, and do your research. Watch my videos because I post what I talk about on here. And when I returned to Jesus and Mary Magdalene and undid the false Holy Grail, it came through on Christmas Day live on this channel. So I would encourage you to stick around, to subscribe if you're new here, to hang around, because shit happens. Shit gets real here. It comes live through here a lot. Okay? All right. So much love, you guys. I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful Sunday. Hasta la vida, or Monday. I don't know. Time frames are weird, right? Like you could be in a whole different side. So have a beautiful day from wherever you are, or night. Allow your heart to be filled with beautiful light, and let's get us home. Till next time. See you guys later. Hasta la vista. Oh wait, I'm on my phone. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.